I want to read a story today to you today called Mango, Abuela, and Me. And it's a really great story. But remember, we've been thinking about every story has a problem. So as I'm reading, I want you to be thinking about the problem. And I really want you to think about what the little girl does to solve her problem, because the characters usually have a big part in solving that problem. So this is called Mango, Abuela, and Me. She comes to visit us in winter, leaving behind her sunny house that rested between two snaking rivers. Her old place was too much for just one, Mammy tells me as we make it to the room in my dresser as we make room in my dresser for her clothes. And too far away for us to help, Pappy adds. Abuela belongs with us now, Mia. But I still feel shy when I meet this far away grandmother. So her grandmother's coming to live with her, and she's a little nervous. Pon, Papi unfolds Abuela's bed and slides it right next to mine. You'll get to know each other, he says. But when I show Abuela my new book, she can't unlock the English words. We can only look at the pictures and watch Edmund race on his wheel. Then, just before we turn out the light, she pulls out two things tucked inside the satin pockets of her suitcase. A feather, un pluma, from a wild parrot that roosted in her mango trees, and a snapshot, un fotografia, of a young man with Pappy's smile. To Abuela, she says, climbing into bed. Snuggled in my pajamas, I smell flowers in her hair, sugar and cinnamon baked into her skin. That night I dream of a redbird circling the sky. The rest of winter, while Mammy and Pappy are at work, Abuela waits for me to get home from school. Then we bundle up in thick socks and handmade sweaters to walk to the park and toss bread to the sparrows. My Espanol is not good enough to tell her the things an abuela should know, like how I'm the very best in art and how I can run as fast as the boys. So right here is where the problem is. So I put a sticky note there so I would remember that that's where the problem is, because I wanted to show you. Her grandmother only speaks Spanish, and the little girl doesn't speak a good enough Spanish to be able to communicate with her grandma. Can you imagine not being able to talk to your grandmother? That would be really sad. So there's my problem. And her English is too poquito to tell me all the stories I want to know about Abuelo and the rivers that ran right outside their door. With our mouths as empty as our bread baskets, we walk back home and watch TV. I just noticed this author did a great job. They put some figurative language we've been talking about in there. Let's look at that. With our mouths as empty as our bread baskets. So they were comparing their mouths to the empty bread baskets. They don't have any words to say because they can't communicate with each other. Grandmother speaks Spanish and she only speaks English. Abuela and I can't understand each other, I whisper to Mammy. Things will get better, Mammy says. Remember how it was with Kim? Kim is my best friend at school. When she was new, our whole class helped teach her English words. Now Miss Wilson sometimes has to say, please be quiet, girls, others are working. After school the next day, while Abuela and I are making meat pies for our snack, I pretend I'm Miss Wilson. Dough, I say, pointing to the ball. Abuela says, dough, masa, and rolls it flat. Masa, I say. She drops a spoonful of meat in place. Carne, I say, meat. Pasas, raisins. Asita, wheat. So they're teaching each other the words. My strict on Spanish is not very good, so you guys forgive me who know Spanish. Then I remember the word cards we taped in our classroom to help Kim. So while Abuela fries our empanadas, I put up word cards too until everything is covered, even Edmund. Soon we're playing Hoy Dije, or Hear and Say, all around the house. But that night she still calls my pillow a pillow, and she said Edmund is a gangster. We keep practicing. We'll keep practicing, I whisper. So she put up cards all around her house with the names of the words. But the next day I cannot practice with Abuela after all. Edmund has run out of his favorite seeds, so Mammy and I have to ride the bus downtown to buy more. Sometimes there are kittens sleeping in the pet shop window, but when we arrive this time, something even better is behind the glass. Look, I say, the window has become a jungle filled with birds, and right in the middle is a parrot staring us with black bean eyes. I press my nose to the glass, thinking of the red feather Abuela gave me. Let's buy him, I tell Mammy. But Mia, you already have a moon, Mammy says. Oh, not for me, I say, for Abuela, like the parrot that lived in her mango trees. He can keep her company when I'm at school. Now, I saw a great metaphor in this writing too. He says, and right in the middle is a parrot staring at us with black bean eyes. So it's saying his eyes look like black beans. Do you see how that gave us a better picture? The author did a really great job of pulling out that figurative language. When we bring him home to Abuela, she says, "Oh, Loro, a parrot. We name him Mango because his wings are green and orange and gold like the fruit." During the day, Abuela teaches him how to give beaky kisses and to bob his head when she sings Los Politos to him. "Buenas tardes, Mango," Abuela says, opening his cage door when I get home from school. "Good afternoon," I say, and give him a seed. Soon Mango calls to me before we even open his cage. "Buenas tardes," he says when I open the door. "Good afternoon." So the parrot's now speaking English and Spanish. Abuelo and Mango and I practice new words every day. Mi español gets faster, and Abuela and Mango learn the days of the week, all the months of the year, and the names of the coins. "How did he learn all that?" Papi asks when we show him all that Mango can do. Abuela winks at me and gives Mango a piece of banana peel and says, "Practice," she says. Before long, Abuela asked me how to say harder things too, so she can talk to the neighbors who stop by. "Has the mailman come? Is it chilly today? Can I get you some cookies and lemonade?" Soon, when friends stop by to see Mango's latest tricks, they can understand everything Abuela says. But best of all, now when Abuela and I are lying next to each other in our beds, our mouths are full of things to say. I tell her about my buen dia and I show her my best pintura of Mango. Abuela reads my favorite books with only a little help, and she tells me new stories of Abuelo. Abuelo is the grandfather, Abuela is the grandmother, who could dive for river stones with a single breath and weave a roof out of palms. I draw pictures for her. She still misses her old house, but she says now only a little bit. Mango listens to us from his perch until my eyes grow heavy. "Hasta mañana, Abuela," I say. Abuela kisses me. "Good night, mija." "Hasta mañana." "Good night," Mango calls. And soon we fall asleep. All right, I love this story, and the author does a great job of helping me see those pictures in my mind. So let's go back and think about the problem and the solution. So I bookmarked this page where the problem is because it says, "My Spanish is not good enough to tell her all the things an abuela should know, and her English is not well." So there's where the problem is. They can't talk to each other. So they just, remember at the beginning, they just sat on the bench and they didn't have any words to say. But then the solution, I marked it with a different page. The solution was Abuela and Mango and I practice words every day. So they bought the bird and they practiced every day until Abuelo and the bird could speak English and Spanish. So there's my problem and my solution. Now, the other thing about a book is they have main events that happen in a book, and they always happen in an order, right? So the first thing I might say if I were talking about main events, I'm going to flip this around. And I'm going to get my journal out again. All right, and I'm going to turn to my next clean page, and I'm going to write the title of my book because that's what I want you to do. This one's called Mango, Abuela, and Me. All right. Now, I want us to think about the main events that happened. The first main thing that happens is grandmother, or they call her abuela, but that really means grandmother in Spanish. I'm going to make it say abuela. Abuela comes to live with the family, right? Abuela comes to live with Mia, right? That would be my first main event. And then usually the problem is pretty close to the beginning, right? And so right at the beginning, we know Abuela and Mia don't have much to say to each other. Abuela and Mia, oops, she's a person. She needs a capital letter. Abuela and Mia can't talk to each other because Abuela speaks Spanish. And Mia speaks English, right? And then what's the next main thing that happens? Remember, Mia starts practicing with grandmother. Mia starts practicing. Remember, she put cards all over the house trying to help grandmother, practicing with grandmother. Then what's the next main event? They buy the pet, right? They go to the pet store. And buy a parrot for grandmother, right? And then the last main event is all three of them learn to speak English and Spanish, right? All three of them learn English and Spanish. So those are my main events. I didn't tell every little detail that happened, just the main things that happened. That's what you want to be able to do after you read a book. You want to be able to go with just those main things that happened. So today I want you to do two things for me. I want you to choose a book that you read on your own. It can be whatever you want. And then I want you to think about what's your problem and your solution. Okay? Where was your problem and solution? I want you to go to Seesaw and make a video that tells me the problem in my book was this. The solution was this. But then in your journal, what I want you to do is I want you to write your title. And then I want you to tell me what were your main events? What were those main things? You need to have at least 3 in your book. Okay, the longer your book, you might have more main events. But think about just the main things that happened, the important things, not every little detail, but just the important things that happened. All right, and then post it to Seesaw.